Alright, today we're going to talk about properties of exponents, section 1.5. Alright, this is one of those sections that in Algebra 1, you would have covered a whole chapter on. Okay, in Algebra 2, we covered all in one day. Okay, that's just kind of the difference in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So these are properties. If you look on the wall over here to my right, a lot of these properties are up there on the posters, so if you need to use them. Okay, those are some of the properties of exponents. Alright, but properties of exponents, section 1.5. First property we're going to talk about here is the zero property, the exponent. And that means anything raised to the zero power is always going to come out as what, Drew? 1. Any number, as long as it's not 0, raised to the zero power will always come out as 1. And that one is actually on the poster over there. See, it says 0 equals 1, because the O is the exponent. Mind blown. Okay? Anything to the zero power always comes out 1. That's going to be like one of the easiest questions on your test. And people will still get it wrong. Anything to the zero power always going to come out 1. Next rule we're going to talk about is the negative exponents. Do I like negative exponents? No. Okay, we don't like negative exponents. The key on negative exponents is, if it's negative in the numerator, where is it going to be positive at? The denominator. So if it's negative on top, so let's say I have like 3, or say I have like x to the negative second. If it's negative on top, I move it to the bottom. So I have 1 over x to the second. Well, let's say I have 1 over x to the negative second. If it's negative on the bottom, where is it going to be positive at? On the top. So I have to move negative exponents. Negative exponents always have to move. Okay? We do not like negative exponents. Negative exponents means I have to move the exponent. Alright? And then lastly, I have fractions. Okay? I treat fractions the same here. So if I have 5 over 2 to the third power, well, that's like saying 5 over 2. Oops, not 3. 5 over 2 times 5 over 2 times 5 over 2. And I multiply them. Alright, that's also the same thing as saying like 5 to the third power over 2 to the third power. I can distribute that exponent to the numbers on the inside. So 5 to the third over 2 to the third. And then I get 125 over 8. Alright, so the key there is, first off, anything to the zero power is always what, Chow? 1. Anything to the zero power is always 1. Negative exponents, do I like them? No. If it's negative on top, where's it going to be positive at, Chow? Bottom. If it's negative on the bottom, where's it going to be positive at, Chow? Got to be moved, right? Okay. Next, we have some different properties here. Alright, so properties of exponents. In order to combine them, they have to have a common base. So they have to have a common base. And again, these are on the posters over there as well. Alright? If I have the common base, I can then add the exponents. So for example here, if I have like x to the second times x to the fourth, I can add my exponents, and that would give me x to the sixth. Okay, so x to the second times x to the fourth gets me x to the sixth. Because I'm multiplying, so I add exponents. Okay. Next one, dividing. If I multiply, I add exponents. Well, it makes sense then that when I divide, I do what with exponents? Subtract. So let's say I have the same problem here. Let's say I have x to the fourth over x to the second here. Well, same base. I'm going to subtract exponents. What's 4 minus 2? So that gets me x to the second power. Okay, so I can subtract them. And then lastly, if I have an exponent to an exponent. Well, if I have an exponent to an exponent, now I'm going to multiply the exponents. For example here, let's say I have x squared to the fourth power. That's like saying I have 4x squared. That's like saying x squared times x squared times x squared times x squared if I wanted to write it out. Well, shortcut says now I can just multiply them. 2 times 4 gets me x to the 8. I could say that's actually x to the 8. Okay? And again, what could I always do? I could always list them out if I struggle. For example here, x to the squared to the fourth. I could say x squared times x squared times x squared times x squared. Okay, I list them out. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. I get x to the 8th power. Okay. And then here's some problems down here. For example, if I have 2 x to the 5th to the 4th power, I would want to distribute the 4. So that gets me 2 to the 4th, and then x to the 5 to the 4th. So I get x to the 20th then, or 16x to the 20th. Okay, I'm distributing the exponent to everything on the inside. And again, if I have just like some letters here, c to the 4th, c to the negative 3rd, combine the c's, combine the d's, and then you can simplify. Okay, the big step on these problems is to go step by step. You don't just want to rush yourself into the final answer, because a lot of times you're going to miss some key steps there. So let's try number 1 here. I have 4 to the negative 2nd. Jake King, do I like negative exponents?
No.
Okay, if it's negative on top, where is it going to be positive at? So I would move it to the bottom. So I have 1 over 4 squared. Jake King, what's 4 squared?
16.
So my answer here is going to be 1 over 16. Boom. Negative exponent. Moves it every time. 2. I have 4 squared. Any negative exponent here, Kyle? Nope, so I'm just going to evaluate it. What's 4 squared going to be?
16.
Boom, 16. Great. 3. 4 to the 0 power. Bennis. Anything to the 0 power is always going to be what, Bennis? 1. Good work. So let's try some of these now. All right. Number 4. 6 to the negative 1st power. Bell, do I like negative exponents? So where am I going to move it to, Bell? On the bottom. I get 1 over 6. Because I moved the 6 to the 1st, right?
I was thinking about the 0 power.
You were thinking the 0 power. You're right. So I get 1 over 6. Number 5. Hannah. 10 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power, Hannah is going to get me what? 1. Test question. Remember that. Anything to the 0 power.
Is it like a vocab or something like give you an actual one?
No, we'll give you an actual one.
Alright.
6. 12 to the negative 2nd power. Katie, do I like negative exponents? Where's it going to move to? So I have 1 over 12 squared. What's 12 squared, Katie?
44.
What'd you say?
140.
144, because it's 12 squared, not 12 times 2, right? So I have 1 over 144. Okay. 7. Rob, do I like negative exponents?
No.
Where am I going to move it to? Bottom, so I have 1 over negative 4 to the 3rd power. Okay, what's negative 4 to the 3rd power? It would be 64. Negative or positive? Negative, because I have an odd exponent. So that's a negative times a negative times a negative. Whenever I have odd exponents with negative, it's going to stay negative. So I have negative 1 over 64. Now who can tell me why did I move the negative to the top there? In a final answer, I always associate my negative either out front or with the numerator always.
So can you just put it out front?
Yes. You can either associate out front with numerator. We usually do not associate the negative in the denominator. So in our final answer. You can work it out there, but you do not leave it in your final answer. 8. Okay, key problem here on number 8. Joe, do I like negative exponents? Joe Daniels. Do I like negative exponents? No. It's a fraction, though. So what do I have to do on this negative 1?
You have to flip it.
Flip which ones?
The negative, or the numerator and denominator.
I got to flip them both. See how they're negative? So technically, like, both of them are negative. So that'd be like saying 1 to the negative 2nd, 7 to the negative 2nd. So what do, Joe? You said I?
Flip them both.
So it's really 7 squared over 1 squared. Well, what's 7 squared, Joe?
49.
What's 1 squared, Joe?
1.
49 over 1 gets me?
49.
49. Good work, sir. Okay. Using that same work, take a couple seconds, try the next 4 on your own. All right, number 9 here. McCoolidge, what do you got for an answer? 64 over 27. Nice job. Recognize. We move the negative exponents, right? Flip them around. Number 10. Ooh, trick question here. It's kind of a trick question. Who thinks they got it? Crump, what do you got?
-1.
The answer here is -1. Nice job. Why is it -1, not a positive 1 here? Because it's a negative out front there. Okay. Now, second trick question here. What happens if I have -5 in parentheses with the 0 exponent? Now what's my answer?
1.
Now my answer is a positive 1. Notice the difference. Okay. This one says the negative is not associated. So number 10 says X order of operations. I do 5 to the 0 power first, which is 1, and then I tack on the negative. The one below, where it's -5 in parentheses, it's saying now the negative is included. So anything with the 0 power there is going to be 1. Okay, so there is 2 different ways. Parentheses make a big difference with exponents. You got to recognize that. 11. Allie, what'd you get for 11? 4 over 25. Nice job. And number 12. Oh, let's go. Drew, what do you got?
9 over 1.
How about -9? Because isn't there a negative out front there, Joe? Or Drew?
Yeah.
So that negative gives me a -9, or a -9 over 1, which is -9 still. Good work. All right, next part here. Now we're going to talk about this with respect to variables. Now it gets kind of a little bit tougher, maybe a little bit easier. It depends how you look at it here. Okay, now there's a lot going to be going on here. The key is to take it step by step. Don't try and rush through to get to the answer. I have -5, a, b to the third, all raised to the second power. So notice, I have to take my 2 to every exponent on the inside. So I have -5 squared, a squared, b to the third times 2. Okay, recognize, I took that 2 to everything on the inside. It's like distributing the exponent to everything on the inside. Okay, now I simplify it. What's -5 squared going to get me, Joe Daniels? -5 squared? So I get 25. A squared is still going to be a squared. B to the third times 2. So 3 times 2 gives me b to the 6th. So my answer there is 25, a squared, b to the 6th power. Okay. 14. I want to multiply. When I multiply, what do I do with my exponents? I'm going to... I want to distribute it when I have something on the outside of parentheses. So when I have two of them, I'm just going to multiply. I'm going to add the exponents. So what's 2 plus 4 going to get me? W to the 6th. And then I do my x's. X to the 5th, x to the 3rd gets me x to the 8th. So I have w to the 6th, x to the 8th. Okay. 15. Same idea here. When I'm multiplying, what do I do with exponents? I'm going to... Oh, sorry, before I do that, my bad. Notice here, I have parentheses with a 2 on the outside. What do I want to do with that 2? I want to distribute that 2 to the exponents on the inside of the parentheses. So you see how I have y to the negative first and z on the inside? So that's going to become y to the 4th, z to the 3rd. The first part doesn't change. And then that 2 distributed gets me y to the negative 2nd, z to the 2nd now. That 2 exponent goes to everything on the inside of those parentheses.
Okay, so it goes, z would be squared,
Yep.
and then y would be -2?
Yep, because it was -1 times 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then it would be like
And now I'm going to combine them. So what's 4 plus -2? Because I want to combine the y's.
2.
So I have y squared. And then when I combine my z's, what's 3 and 2 going to give me?
5.
So I have y squared z to the 5th power. Nice job. Okay, good work. 16. 6s to the 3rd t over 3st squared. Now, a lot of times we can struggle on this because we start doing with exponents. If I have a number in there, I still want to simplify the number. What's 6 over 3 going to get me? 2, right? Okay, so 6 over 3 is still going to get me 2. All right.
Isn't it just 2st to 1? Because don't you just cancel them out?
Kind of. You're close.
Well, don't you like? So let's say S3 to T is ST to 2.
Mhm.
Don't they just like?
Yeah, we are going to cancel them out.
Then when you leave them on top, right?
Yep.
It'd be all 2, right?
They're all not going to be on top, though.
Oh, okay.
Pay attention here. So I have s to the 3rd over s. Well, remember, when I divide, what do I do with exponents? I'm going to
Oh yeah.
subtract, right? So if I have 3 s's on top, 1 s on the bottom, how many s's am I going to be left with? 2, right? So it's s squared. Now I have t on top and t squared on the bottom. I have 1 t on top, 2 t's on the bottom. How many t's am I going to have left? 1, but where's that t going to be at?
That's going on top.
On the
Bottom.
bottom.
But isn't it negative then?
If I put it on top, it would be negative. So my answer here is going to be 2s squared t. Now again, why is that here? If I have t over t times t, let's say I wrote it out, t times t. Does everybody agree I can cancel a t out?
Yeah.
Well, where's my t left over at then? It's on the bottom. Okay? Your exponent will always end up where the or your variable is always going to end up wherever your larger exponent is. If my larger exponent's on top, my variable is going to go on top. Larger exponent's on the bottom, variable is going to go on the bottom. Okay, that's kind of the key there. All right, we'll look at a lot more of these. Don't worry. 17. Anytime I have parentheses with an exponent, what do I want to do with that exponent? I want to distribute it, multiply them. So I get 4 times 3 and 2 times 3. That gets me a to the 12th over b to the 6th. Okay.
How do you know not to square and multiply it?
What?
How do you know like when to square it or multiply it? You know?
When do like add it or multiply, you mean?
Yeah, so like you're not
Okay.
squaring even if they just multiply it.
If I have multiples of the same base, like if I had like a to the 4th times a to the 4th, so I have 2 bases here. Now I'm going to add them. So that give me a to the 8th. If I have a to the 4th raised to the 4th power, so notice I have a power raised to a power, that's now when I'm going to multiply those and I get like a to the 16th. Okay? So it's all, I mean, anytime you have an exponent on the outside of your parentheses with exponents on the inside, you're going to multiply them on there. Good question. All right, 18. I want to multiply here. I have negative 3 times 9. I want to multiply those. Hannah, what's negative 3 times 9?
Negative 27.
So I get negative 27. Now I want to combine x's, Hannah. I have x to the negative 2nd, x to the negative 1st. What's that going to give me? X to the negative what?
3.
X to the negative 3rd. Good. And then I have y to the 3rd and y to the 5th. Hannah, what's that going to give me? Y to the 8th. So I simplified that down. Is that my final answer now?
Is it negative 24 or negative 27?
Wait.
Oh, negative 27. You're right. Thank
have
you.
to go negative 3x times negative 2.
You're adding. Because they're listed out separately, x to the negative 2nd, x to the negative 1st. Because they're listed out separately like that, I'm multiplying, so I add exponents.
So it would be negative 3.
So I get x to the negative 3rd. Yep.
Wait, but there's negative 3x. You see what I'm saying?
You're talking about here?
Yeah.
Treat the numbers together. So for example here, I'm trying to underline a different color. Treat the numbers separately. So negative 3 times 9.
Would be
Negative 27.
negative 27.
That's where I get this negative 27 out here. So treat the numbers together. Treat the variables with the exponents
You
together.
can multiply that negative 3x negative squared times 9x negative 5.
Yes, you just want to combine what's in common.
Yeah, and then you'll subtract negative 2 and negative 1.
Yep.
Negative 3.
Yep, and that's why I get negative 3.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, now, back to the question here. Is this the final answer then? What am I missing in this answer? Or why is this not a final answer? What do I not like? Negative exponents. So where's that negative exponent have to go to? So really my answer is going to be negative 27 y to the 8th over x to the 3rd. Now, that's my final answer. Okay, I do not like the negative exponents. All right, let's try some simpler ones here maybe. A little bit less going on. Okay, 19 here. X to the 5th, x squared to the 4th. What do I have to do with this 2 and the 4 in this expression here? I need to multiply them. So I have x to the 5th times x to the 8th. Now what do? Now I add them and I get x to the 13th. Okay, recognize the difference here. You see the difference there, Johnny? Okay, so when I have a power raised to a power, that's where I'm going to multiply. Okay, now I have exponents with the same base. Now I'm going to add them. Okay, 20. Allie, what do I have to do right here? I multiply them. So I have y to the 2nd times y to the negative 8th. Now what do I do with the exponents, Allie? Add them. So I get y to the negative 6th. Is that my answer, Allie? Why not? Because it's negative, so where do I move the negative to? So I have 1 over y to the 6th. And now we have that as our final answer. Again, take these problems step by step. Don't try and rush through all the way to the end and get your answer. You'll make mistakes along the way a lot of times. 21, 2 things going on here. Beast, what do I do with both of these right here that are circled? Multiply them. So 3 times 2, 5 times 3. Oops, not y. So I get a to the 6th times a to the 15th. Now what do, Beast? Because what did you do there?
Add 6.
Yeah, now you're going to add those exponents there. So I get a to the 21st. Good work, sir.
Should you mean to multiply on 20 that y squared times y negative 8? Is that what it says?
I just left the multiplying, yeah, because the parentheses mean implied multiplication there. So I just kind of wrote it out just so you can see that when you multiply, you add the exponents. Yeah, I just kind of added that multiplication in
I
there.
didn't know if you meant to put that dot there.
Yeah. 22, McCoolidge. What am I doing right here, bud? So what am I going to do with those exponents? I'm going to? No. When I have a power raised to a power, what do? I'm going to multiply. So I get x to the 3rd times x to the negative 6th. This is power to a power. Now when I have 2 bases, now what do I do with the exponents? Now I'm going to... I can combine them first, and then I can put it at the bottom at the end. So let's combine them. What's 3 plus negative 6? So I have x to the negative 3. Now what do I want to do, Joe? 1 over x to the 3rd. Now I'm going to simplify it down to 1. Right? Okay, good work. Take a couple seconds, try these 4 on your own. Okay, same idea. With division now, remember we subtract them. Okay, so take a couple seconds, try these 4 on your own. All right, let's walk through some of these. Let's go step by step. 23. I have x to the 5th over x. What is my exponent in the denominator there? Child, what's the missing exponent? Huh? If there's no exponent, it's applied what number? It's implied always 1. It's always an implied 1. So when I divide now, what do I do with exponents? When I divide, I'm going to... So I take 5 minus 1. My answer is going to be x to the 4th. Okay. Now, 24, a couple ways to do it. What's something you noticed right away, Katie? What's something you did? She says, hey, I have a negative exponent. I'm going to move that to the bottom. So I have 1 over y to the 5th, y to the 3rd. Okay, now can I combine the exponents, Katie? And you get 1 over y to the 8th. Good work. 25. Again, I could treat it the same way here. I can move my negative exponent right, or I could subtract, either way. Okay, I can move my negative exponent up top. I could subtract the other ones. Joe Daniels, what do you get for number 25?
X to the 7th over y to the 5th.
X to the 7th over y to the 5th. Notice, if I did it the other way, if I subtracted them, I could have done 3 minus a negative 4, which is really 3 plus 4. That's where I get the 7. And I could do 2 minus 7, which is negative 5. Negative 5 has to go on the bottom. 26. What do you notice right away about problem like 26? Kyle, what's something you notice about that one right away? They're both negative, so they're both going to have to go where? So I move that one there, move that one there. So I really have x to the 3rd, x to the 5th, which is really what, Kyle? X to the 8th. Nice job, sir. Okay, again, take these step by step. Don't try and rush through and just get to the answer, because A lot of times you'll just move. You'll probably make a mistake and you'll probably leave it in the numerator. It should have been the denominator or something vice versa there. All right. Let's try these here. So again, step by step here. 27. I have x third, or x to the third to the second power over x to the negative sixth. Anytime I have a power to a power, what do I want to do with that 2 and the 3? I need to multiply them. So I have x to the sixth over x to the negative sixth. Now, when I divide, what do I do with exponents? I'm going to subtract. So that's like saying 6 minus a negative 6. 2 negatives get me a? So really, I'm going to have an answer of x to the 12th. Good work. X to the 12th. 28, step by step here. What do I want? So I get x to the 8th. So I have x to the 8th over x to the 5th. And now I can combine them. What's x and x to the 8th going to give me? That's going to give me x to the over x to the 5th. Then what am I going to do with the exponents? I'm going to subtract them, and I get x to the 4th. Because of x to the 1st and x to the 8th. Because remember, if there's no exponents, there's that 1 there. So I have 1 plus 8 is 9. Very good.
You get 6 plus 6 though.
Because this one's a negative 6, right?
Yeah.
So when I divide, I subtract the exponents. So it's like 6 minus the negative 6.
Oh, and it goes.
And then the 2 negatives give me that positive.
Isn't 29 is y to the negative 4?
So 29 here. What do I have to do with this negative 3? I have to multiply. Distribute that negative 3, right? So really I get 3 to the negative 3rd, y to the negative 6th over y to the 5th. Does everybody see why I get 3 to the negative 3rd? That negative 3 has to go to everything on the inside. Now I have negative exponents. Do I like negative exponents? No. Let's move them. Move this one to the bottom. Move this one to the bottom. So I have 1 over 3 to the 3rd, y to the 5th, y to the 6th. What's 3 to the 3rd going to give me, Allie? Huh? 3 to the 3rd. So I have 1 over 27. What's y to the 5th and y to the 6th give me, Allie? Y to the, yes? Y to the 11th. So I have 1 over 27, y to the 11th there. Last problem here. Chow, what is the implied exponent with that bottom x? With the x? 1, thank you. Now, Chow, when I have exponents here and I want to divide, what do I do with my exponents? I'm going to? So I have x to the 2nd over y to the negative 5th. Chow, do I like negative exponents? So where am I going to move it to? My answer is x squared, y to the 5th. Okay, there it is. Again, take these problems step by step through them. Don't try and rush the answer. Here's your assignment.